everybody, and welcome to another episode of How Did You Show? We have a glorious morning today. What a great start to start a weekend, as it's Friday, and it's my name day as well today, which for those who don't know what name day is, I'll tell you about it a little bit in a minute. Let me introduce you to my awesome guest. I have another special guest with me today. His name is Istvan. He is a business partner of my friend Peter, and now he's my friend as well, who kindly agreed to come on the show today and share his amazing story. Istvan is very inspiring. He achieved quite a lot in the property world in quite a short period of time, and therefore he's very inspiring for the beginners and for those who are already in the game. So I can't wait for him to share the story with you today. So hi Istvan, and welcome on the show today.
Hi, Lanka. Thank you. What a great introduction. Thank you very much. And happy name day to you. I actually, for one, know what a name day is because, you know, we are from a similar part of the world. So name days do exist in Hungary as well, not just from where you are. So, so happy name day to you.
Thank you. That's really cool that my guests actually know what name day is.
I'm probably one of the first ones, but yes, I do know. So, and of course, I'm very jealous of you because you've got the sunshine. Well, I've got the rain. So I have to live closer to you, Lenka, I think, to actually get a bit more sunshine in my life, I think.
Well, you should move here anyway because I live in the most beautiful part of the UK, so...
Most definitely, yes. The pictures certainly say that, yes, definitely.
Yeah, for those who's listening, for those who don't know where I'm from, I'm from Slovakia, but I live in Torbay, which is known as the English Riviera, and it's absolutely stunning here. So sunshine like this really suits this place, especially now when we've got loads of tourists around, so absolutely amazing. So Istvan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really, really, really excited to have you. As I said, that you are absolutely smashing in the property world, and I bet you telling your story will inspire loads of people who are starting out or those already in the game. So yeah, thanks so much. So for those who don't know much about you, can you tell us a little bit who is Istvan? Introduce yourself, please, to my listeners.
Sure, yeah, okay. So just to give you a little background. So my name is Istvan Vagh, and I'm originally from Hungary, so very close to your neck of the woods, Lenka. So, and I lived in Hungary until probably I was at 2021, and I decided to do a bit of traveling myself. So left, and I picked a country that was probably the furthest away from my own country. So I went to New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
And lived there for 12 years, which is probably why you can pick up a little bit of the southern twang in my English. So my New Zealand accent kind of shines through every now and then in certain words.
I can believe it now. Yeah. They're East. They're pronouncing them differently.
Sure. Yes. So, but I've been here long enough in the UK now, so I think it's slowly fading away. But certain words are certainly quite prominent. So yeah, Hungary, where I was born and grew up, and I spent a bit of time in New Zealand. Well, 12 years, so quite a long time, really. But I really enjoyed it there. It was brilliant. You know, I spent all my 20s there, so absolutely fantastic time. I met my wife, and I now I've got 2 children, so a father of 2. So a lot happened, obviously, in the 12 years and since we left New Zealand as well. And a bit of background about, you know, what I did or what I used to do. So I actually started as a chef in my very early days. So a lot of people don't know that about me. Because most people know me from who I am now or who I was just a few years ago. So I started as a chef. So I worked as a chef for quite a few years in New Zealand, which I absolutely loved. Brilliant vibe, you know. Hospitality is brilliant in your early 20s, as you probably know, because I think you've got a similar background yourself.
I do, yeah.
And then I decided to, you know, do a bit of studying. So I went to university. And from a chef, I studied accounting and finance, which is completely different. But I wanted to change in my life quite early on, and I sort of wanted that because I looked at where I could be as a chef when I was 50 years old. I didn't like the look of that. You know, I enjoyed it in my early 20s, but certainly it wasn't going to when I was 50 or, you know, 55 or whatever. So I studied accounting and finance, became a qualified accountant after a few years of experience.
Wow.
And
you got a good brain for numbers.
Yes, which, you know, interestingly, I wouldn't say that maths was ever my favorite subject at high school.
So spreadsheets, maybe. Good spreadsheet.
But I'm really good. I'm really good with numbers. I'm really good with spreadsheets now, and I think it's something that I guess that period of my life kind of taught me a little bit that you can basically do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it.
I love that. Yeah.
Because from someone who came from a small village in Hungary to make it to the other side of the world and do an accounting and finance degree and become a chartered accountant
In a different language.
In a completely different language, having not spoken any English when I left for New Zealand, I thought it was a pretty decent achievement.
That's fantastic. Yeah, well done. See, you're already inspiring, and we haven't even started to talk about property.
Yeah, and I think maybe my skills and capabilities weren't quite there, but I always had a fairly strong mindset. I was quite resilient. Once I put my mind to something, I went after it like a dog on a bone sort of thing. So if I want it really badly, I will get it. And I think that's really the crux of it all. Yes, it wasn't easy. Don't get me wrong. Trust me, going to a different country, going to university, and doing it in a different language to your native is not easy. Millions of people have done it, so I'm not going to claim that I'm the only person ever who has done it. Yeah. But it's not easy, I can tell you that.
I also have experience. I also been studying in London, and when I came to England, I couldn't speak a single word as well. And so I went through similar, studying in different language, and so well done. It takes a lot of discipline, and you need to be driven. And you need to have a discipline. You need to be fine with failures and sleepless nights and all that. But you went through all that and you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's definitely wasn't easy, especially because when I was studying, I actually did full-time work for the first 2 years. So I would finish my shift. I was working for a catering company at the time. So I finished my shift at 5 o'clock, went home, literally got changed, hopped on my bike and went to uni, and my class started at 6 p.m. and went until 9 p.m.
Wow, amazing.
So look, you go through some hard times, but as long as you
something have to pay the bills, something you still have to continue living as you are studying, for your better future. So well done. Takes
exactly.
A lot.
So good times, tough times, but good times. So after finishing uni, like I said, I became a chartered accountant. So did work for an accountancy firm for a few years, and then after that, I decided to go and actually work for some corporations. Some what we like to call commercial jobs. So I worked for quite a few household brands, some that you know of here in the UK, some that you come in a crisp packets, that you probably eat it on a weekly basis. So I've done quite a few years. Worked for some multinationals, so lots of great experience as a finance professional. So
I bet that taught you a lot and prepared you better for being a businessman.
Yes, and it kind of was in the back of my mind, always was kind of the reasoning behind. I kind of like to know how things work. So for me to really understand what makes a business tick, you kind of need to go into the heart of it. And what better way of looking at it is actually just looking at the numbers, because the finance team kind of have the pulse on everything that happens in the business, because they need to understand. They're the ones who report to the management and letting them know, look, we have done really well because of X, Y, and Z, or we have done really terribly because of X, Y, and Z. So, you get to be the analytics person who has to understand not just the business, but what drives the business, why certain things are not going the way they should do, etc. So from that point of view, it was brilliant. Really got under the skin of quite a few very large businesses, and that kind of helps you understand how business works, what makes it tick, what can you do to make it better, and many other things as well. So it was a brilliant experience. So I'm not regretting it for one moment that I've in the past. So.
Anything you do in life, it's shaping you and helping you to become a person you want. Even if you change your goals and your plans, that's just natural. That's called being a human, and that means progressions. And obviously, we want different things, as we grow. But you get there by being who you are in between. So, as you said, that you're not regretting it, and you shouldn't, because that's definitely is something what helped you a lot now as well to be who you are.
Yeah, I think.
And I bet your business partners loving the fact that you are so good with spreadsheets and numbers.
I think
people don't like spreadsheets.
No, most people don't, and there's a reason for that, because it can be seen as boring. But if you, again, I see it as a vehicle to success. You need to understand that, you're not doing spreadsheets because you love spreadsheets. You're doing them because it will help you understand what you're doing good and what you're not doing good, or even with your planning, because that's a lot of times that's what I use spreadsheets for example, is actually just planning. Okay, so I want to do this business and I want to, go after that particular activity. But without really actually working out on what that can give you, you're just sort of doing the hit and hope exercise, go,
Mm.
oh, I think I can do maybe, five grand a month, but really you have no idea until you actually broken it down.
How you're going to achieve it?
How are you actually going to achieve it? Yes. And I
Yeah.
think the best way to do it is, open up a spreadsheet and put some numbers on it, because the numbers will not lie. I can tell you that. And that's
Well,
sometimes
if you're putting the right formulas in.
yes, I can do that. Yeah, I think I'm okay with the right things.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite important skill to have, like know what to put in the spreadsheet to give you the right answers.
yes, absolutely right. But
And
yeah, I agree with what you just said in terms of all these experiences shape our lives. I think so many people are quite afraid to make a change. They go, oh well, look, I've trained to be a doctor or I've trained to be an accountant, so I'm an accountant. And strangely, that never really worried me. Um, I know when I was a chef, I was pretty good at what I did. So my boss at the time was like, why are you changing? Why do you want to go study? Like, you're really good at what you do. And I just thought, I think I feel like I need to do this because I can see my future, and it doesn't look like what I think I really want to do at that time, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Which is why I thought, what, if I don't change course now, then I will end up in a position where I will just regret it forever.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not easy to do. A lot of people hate change. For me, I know it comes with obstacles. It comes with obstacles. It comes with challenges. It certainly comes with hard times. But
Definitely.
I've always found that if you do those, they will pay off.
Absolutely. Well, I
Um,
have I have the big picture here of success. You know the picture of the ice. When you got
oh
the
yeah,
iceberg, it's only a little bit on the top, which is the success, but what's underneath? And just for those of you who don't see that picture, it says so you only can see a little bit of the ice on the top, which is success, but underneath it's hard work, persistence, late nights, rejections, sacrifices, discipline, criticism, doubts, failure, and risk.
and
And it's
that's just a
all
few of them.
yeah, and it's like, but people, like as you said, people don't like changes and all that, but if you're not prepared to do this, you're not going to get that success. So it's
No.
a lot to put into to actually harvest the success, harvest some fruit. So it's just with your story already, it shows we haven't even touched the property, and you already showed that you do have all this. You got discipline and you got ambition, and you're not afraid to try, you're not afraid to fail, you're not afraid to get rejected, and that's all it is about, isn't it? Is every single person, the very successful person I follow, if I read their books or something, they failed more times than they succeeded, and
Mm.
we only hear about the successes. And it's like, no, people do fail, people make mistakes, people get rejected and all that. You need to be prepared to go through the tough times as well in order to succeed. So it just shows that you just go, no matter what, you go, go, go. And that's really good. That's really, really good.
Yeah, I think you have to be resilient. I think that's one of those things that resilience is, and it's not easy to come by nowadays. I see so many people don't have it, to be honest. So for me, it comes naturally, and I don't know why. It's just obviously, as I was growing up, life wasn't always easy, and certainly came through a few tougher times, but that just made you more resilient. Like at the time, that was the end of the world. Some of those things that I went through. And look back now going, well, actually, you know what? Because I went through those experiences, I'm now looking back at it going, well, geez, yeah, come again. Who
Yeah,
cares?
absolutely.
I can deal with that because I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. It can teach you a lot. And but when you've mentioned that when you were growing up, this is how I feel a lot. When I was a kid, as a kid, I was always jealous of those children growing up in town who've been living in flats and they didn't have any work to do around their gardens and fields and all that. And I was always so jealous. My parents made me work so much when I was little, and obviously I wasn't happy as a kid that I had to do it. Now I would never change it for anything. The
Mm.
discipline they taught me, the work ethic, the appreciation of your own, when you work on something. And yeah, it's the appreciation, you usually appreciate that when you're older, not when you're younger.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going through that with my kids at the moment. So yes, I know exactly what you mean. Not always an easy sell when you ask them to do something, but I know it's for the better, and that's for their own good, really. But
they will appreciate that later, even if they don't like you now for that.
yeah, give it 15 years or so, maybe they will understand.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I do
Yeah.
tend to sometimes, like now when I thank my parents when they said, "Oh, Lenka, well done for this and this," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because of you. You taught me XYZ." And sometimes they go like, "Oh, they shocked because when I was little I didn't like them for it." Now they're like, "Oh, she appreciates that finally."
Yeah, it's only taken 20 odd years, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly, but we got there. Awesome. Well, Istvan, that's really, really cool. Absolutely love your background of, how you've been, how you've been shaping yourself and growing into who you are. Now, can you tell us now a bit more how you enter property, or why did you decide to go for property? So, as you came from a corporate world and doing accountancy, why property?
So this is something that again started probably quite a long time ago, to be honest, because in my early 20s when I was in New Zealand, you kind of couldn't avoid being part of property because you may or may not remember, but sort of early to mid 2000s, this huge property boom. And New Zealand was no exception. The prices were going through the roof. Almost every day you looked in the paper and it was talking about house prices have gone up again. So you almost couldn't avoid being somehow exposed to property. And I wasn't involved at that point. I was too busy living my life. I was 20 something. The last thing on my mind was buying properties at that point.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it would have been nice to have that urge, but I didn't. That's okay.
Same, I didn't.
That's okay. Again, that shaped us to who we are. So I'm not regretting it. But we got to a point. I think it was in 2012. I think we actually, now we're married. We had good jobs, etc. We were sort of a bit more settled, a bit more mature, I think. So we bought our first house in New Zealand, which was great, and we managed to. Sorry.
To live in. A house to live in.
Yeah, that was our own house. Yeah, so at that time, property investing again wasn't really on my mind. So, but we wanted a house, so we bought a house, and we managed to live all of 10 months in our own house before I got promoted into a new role into the UK. So not only we left our house, we left the country and the part of the world altogether. So we moved to the UK.
Wow.
So I became what people like to call an accidental landlord.
Yes, in different country.
Well, in the other side of the world, really.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God. How did that went? So you give it to agents?
So we ended up giving it to an agent, but of course, we've chosen the agent. So we went through the whole process of, picking an agent, even interviewing the first tenants and all that sort of stuff. It all went really well for a while, and after a while, problems start to occur, as always do. So, but, when you're not an hour drive away, but you're more like 24 hours of flying away, it's a bit tricky.
Wow. I don't think I ever heard anybody becoming accidental landlord with a house on the other side of the world. That's pretty cool.
Well, there you go. Here's a first for your show, Hank.
Yep.
But look, so we sort of persevered with the house and the problems. And to be honest, at that point, I didn't really have the right mindset for it. I didn't have the mindset of problems are part of property. They are just something that occur. Maintenance does occur. All these things. I didn't know enough. And I'm not sad to admit, not ashamed of admitting it. But basically, a couple of years down the line, we thought, what, we actually looking like we're going to stay in the UK. So it probably doesn't make a huge amount of sense to have a house in New Zealand, which is rented out, which really wasn't making us any money, to be honest, because of the management fees and the maintenance and all these sort of things. So it was becoming a problem. So, and thankfully at that point, we bought in a good place. We bought in a good area. That was an up and coming area. And at that point, the value of the properties increased, fairly substantially. So I thought, it's probably a good time to sell. And then put our money into a house here in the UK because, this is where we're going to settle. So we did that. And then we bought our house. Again, no investment property in sight at all, just our own house. But again, it's another step in the right direction, because now we've not only have we experienced the property market in New Zealand, not only have I been to a landlord, been a landlord, but we've also gone through the process of searching and finding and understanding a system in the UK as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
inadvertently, I was learning, even though I didn't really know that I was learning the process of
Yeah,
property.
accidentally.
Yeah, it's kind of, but I wanted to understand the process,
Sure, of course.
in any way, because if you understand the process, then you know what you're getting yourself into. You know where, what to watch out for, what are the pitfalls, etc. So I kind of, when I go into things, I tend to. I'm not saying I overanalyze things, but I like to have a fairly broad understanding of what I'm actually getting myself into. And it probably comes from my accountancy background. There's nothing wrong with that either. So again, we lived in a house for a few years. And then in 2017 was when I actually went along to my very first event, which was about property. So, quite a few years later, I think, 3 or 4 years later after buying a house. And that's when my journey actually really started. So I went along to this 3-day free event. And then after that, I signed up to a couple of training courses. And then I started. So, I learned about things like, what is an HMO? What is a serviced accommodation?
Yeah, things you would never, things you don't know until you go for those sort of events. Because I know exactly what you mean. Because you think that property is you buy a house, you put the tenants in there, and that's it. And then you're hoping for capital growth. And it's like, hold on a second, there's like HMOs, which means household multiple occupancy. There's a rent to rent. You can rent someone property and then rent it out. What? Serviced accommodation? What's that? Yeah. So it's amazing. Open up your mind.
Interestingly, once again, we put label on all these things now, Lenka, but I lived in an HMO back in 2001 in New Zealand. They just weren't called HMOs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I lived in a house that had 4 bedrooms, and there was 4 of us living in a house. That is an HMO.
Yes.
But nobody called it an HMO in New Zealand, and certainly I didn't know that I could make money of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we moved over to the UK, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we stayed in a serviced accommodation unit. Again, I didn't know that I could make money of that.
I could have a property and rent it on Airbnb. What? And make more money than if I would just have a normal single let tenant in there. That's magic. Tell me more.
I know.
Amazing.
And you don't go along to these courses and then you go, wow, actually, when you put it that way, that actually makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So that's when I learned about property and HMOs, serviced accommodations.
And that was just 2000. Sorry.
And what is rent to rent, for example? That was another thing. So that was end of 2017.
So that is
like December, I think.
Just under 4 years ago, we're talking. So now this is exactly what I was excited to have you on today, because if you've been on the first property course by end of 2017, we are in the middle of 2021, and you've achieved quite really a lot. It's really inspiring how much you've achieved in such a short period of time. And so I'll let you obviously tell the client, tell the listeners, and obviously how you got there, and some, hopefully some tips and golden nuggets for the listeners. But yeah, this is exactly what you're going to lead me now. So as I said, it's been less than 4 years. So please tell us, how did you actually got from being a full-time accountant and an accidental landlord to suddenly being a successful multiple business owner in the UK in your second language?
yeah, second language, third country, and all the rest of it. Yes.
And 2 kids now.
Yeah, 2 kids and a dog. Yeah, whatever else. Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. So please tell us more.
Yeah. So one of probably the biggest catalysts really for all this was that I was made redundant in 2017, actually.
Oh, wow.
So
why not?
yeah, exactly. And what the interesting thing is that since graduating, I think it was 2008, I think, and I graduated. So I graduated a bit later than most people do, but I think it was 2008. Since then, every single corporate job of mine, I was up for redundancy at some point. Now, before you draw any conclusion, it's not because of my performance.
I'm sure.
But, first one was because the financial crisis has just hit. So all of a sudden, a lot of clients of the account.
2018, there was a recession. Yeah, you just.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a recession. So all of a sudden, the company I worked for, they're like, well, our clients have just dried up. So we have to think about who we're going to let go, because obviously our cost base is still too high for their revenues. So that was the first one. And then the second one, literally the next job after, again, it wasn't because of that, but they were restructuring. So, the half of the team, they decided to outsource to, a different country, and basically a whole restructuring, cutting loads of roles. Again, I didn't lose my job in any of those at that point. So got off lightly, but I was up for redundancy again. And then I moved to the UK, and literally within a year or so, again, another restructuring.
That's
and
the universe is trying to tell you, stop being employed.
Well, that's kind of it's going to be the moral of my story. So in a way, because, I thought when I went into university that, I'm going to create myself a really strong safety net by studying something like accountancy and finance. Accountancy always needed, because, people need to file tax returns, etc. It's almost like a job that you can't go wrong with. Mm-hmm. And yet here I was, my third or fourth job, and I'm always up for redundancy. I'm like, I must be doing something wrong here. But it wasn't me. And that was the strangest thing about it. It's just, the economy changes.
And
the
you
company
don't have security as well. There's no security when you have a job as well. And
but this is the massive misconception by people. It's okay, well, I'm in a secure job because I work for a very large corporate. I work for the second largest food and beverage manufacturer in the world. Now, if you think that security, then you think that you're pretty secure with a company like that. Yet every couple of years, there's a restructuring of some sort, or, there's some sort of thing that makes them go, actually, we need to change something in this team or that team. And before you know it, you are potentially one of the people who's going to be made redundant. So anyway, finally in 2017, I think it was probably the fourth or fifth time I was up for redundancy. I was actually made redundant. So I thought, I rode my luck long enough, and this was it. But at that point, to be honest, I was kind of considering a change anyway. So in a strangest possible way, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because I needed a change, and this was probably my tickets to the change. So I thought, what, I've been wanting to, do something different for a little while. I know, maybe a year or so, just been thinking. So I thought, what, I'll make a start. So I got a bit of redundancy money, which was nice, nothing to write home about, but enough to sort of put that safety net underneath me. So, even if I don't, succeed for the first few months, then, we're still okay. So I started my own business, and all I was doing is essentially what I trained to do. So I was a finance professional, but instead of working for someone, I was contracting my services out to other companies.
Right.
So in a way, it's a blend between, being employed and being self-employed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good easing into the I guess the self-employed.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. But, all of a sudden, you have to change your mindset, because all of a sudden, you can't have the mindset of, I just, if I don't do okay, I don't do good today, I'll just come back tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. All of a sudden, every day matters, because you are, providing a service that they've contracted you to do.
Absolutely.
And if you're not doing it, they can get rid of you pretty quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely. So not being your holiday anymore. You don't have any sick pays or anything like that. And you do a bad job, and they're going to stop contracting you. So there's not like when you're employed and you make a mistake, they'll be like, right, okay, let's have a chat. You have another chance. So yeah, it's a bit more scary in a way.
Yes, it is. But you know what? I actually always sort of taken challenges fairly head on. So for me, that was like probably more of a kick up the bum, going, actually, you know what? You can do this, and you can do better than what you have done perhaps in the last year. So let's go for it and let's do it. And that's kind of how I approach it. And I've had great feedback from the people I worked for. I was earning good money. I was literally never out of work. And I did this for a good three or so years, I think. So, never had an issue landing the next role, even though the one finished straight away into another role.
Fantastic.
But that kind of triggered something, all of a sudden, because you kind of are the master of your own destiny, whether you like it or not, you're in this thing. So you kind of have to make it work. So then kind of all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, hang on, there's might be a little bit more to this. Maybe this entrepreneurship, there's a bit more to this. And somehow I just come across a few things, a few books, I've spoken to a few interesting people, and property investing has also come along around that time. So that's kind of how it all started. And of course, once it starts, you just want more of this. So going along to the property courses, that was definitely a big step in the right direction for me. So learning about
people say that if you think that education is expensive, try ignorance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a true believer. Education is really, really important.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the education I got at the university, and then the education I got when I went to these courses. So for me, it was important. It's important to learn from the right people. Mm-hmm. Even when you're choosing university, you don't just go to any university. You go to the one that you feel the most connected with, feel that the one that you're going to get the most out of. So because otherwise it's a waste of time, right?
Yeah. Same like even with a mentor or anything like that, you need to click with people. You need to feel comfortable. Yeah. They need to understand you. Yeah. So it's a two-way street, isn't it? It's not just like, I want you to teach me, or I'm going to this university. It needs to be working for both sides. That's when you get the most out of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. Yes. So that's when I did the property courses. So I think it was early 2018 when I actually did the courses. I think the three-day course thing was end of 17, and then a couple of months later I did the courses. And that's when I learned about what we just discussed in terms of HMOs and serviced accommodations and rent to rent. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. I need to do more of this. I need to understand more. So I signed up to a mastermind program, a 6 months mastermind program at that point, because once again, it wasn't the knowledge that I didn't have, because I went to the courses and I took notes and I understood what we were talking about.
The accountability.
It's not even the accountability, because you hopefully you picked up on that. I don't really need accountability so much because I'm quite a driven person.
It's true. Yeah.
It was more the case of, I know very well from my life experience in general that it doesn't matter how many books you read, it doesn't matter how many videos you watch, you will always come up against some sort of obstacle, some sort of problem that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, new one. Yeah, but someone else went through it already.
Exactly. And someone else has gone through that already, or at least have a potential approach that you could also employ and you could use for your own good. And that's, to me, that was the most important thing, having that link to that person who I paid my fees to be part of his mastermind, because I knew that he's a very experienced person, and there was also the group, because of how the masterminds work. And to be honest, that was a really good decision. I still got great connections out of it, not to mention the motivational element of it as well, because sometimes, you probably know very well yourself, Lenka, that it's not always rainbows and butterflies and sunny days in property. There are days when you are down in the dumps, and it's a very rainy and grey, and you just don't want to
moths instead of butterflies.
Yeah, exactly that. So those are the sort of things that you can actually, I need to just speak to someone. I need to be around people who are positive, who can just give you that tap on the shoulder and go, actually, you know what? It seemed pretty bad from your point of view, but really it's not that bad. So just get over yourself and get on with it,
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like people say that if you are always the most clever one in a room, you're never gonna learn. It's like you need to be surrounded by people as well where you can grow and they can inspire you. Because if you're always the one who is the most clever one, you always stay where you are. So you need to surround yourself with people who will inspire you and teach you, and that's that's the circle, isn't it, of success as well. And then you're gonna be in a position where people will follow you and want to learn from you, and that's gonna be like, and that's just how it works. So that's really good on you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so based on that, we started the whole rent to rent side of things. So in terms of property, so I've joined with business partners. I enjoy working with people. That's one thing that I've found, and it can be quite lonely if you're doing it on your own. So
Mm.
I think they need that connection. And I thought, well, why not share the pain and the success as well with others? Because let's face it, you're gonna get both. Let's not be in any denial phase about this. So first deal was very tricky. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously I was already running a business, which was the one that's bringing all the money, and I was starting something new. So kind of splitting my attention all of a sudden and starting something completely new was a difficult start. So, but once we got our first deal, after that, things are starting to roll, as you know very well from yourself. Once you get the ball rolling and actually things start to happen, your belief starts to grow, your confidence grows, and all of a sudden things just really start to fall into place. All those little puzzle pieces that are sometimes feel like all over the place, all of a sudden they turn into this lovely picture that you can go, oh yeah, this is really clear now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it worked in my head as well. And that's how we got to a point in a very short space of time from signing a first deal to, I think it was deal number 6 or something like that, in about a space of 6 to 7 months, that we were making about $5,000 profit.
Fantastic. Was that rent, yeah? Or
yeah, there's a friend to rent HMOs, yeah. So
so you started, just for those again who's listening, so you started with HMOs, rent to rent strategy HMOs, which is the house of multiple occupancy for the beginners who don't know. Yeah, so it's like a shared houses as well for some people.
Yeah, shared houses. Yeah, so it's just to give you a bit of on that. So essentially, HMOs is where you have tenants in your house, and serviced accommodation is where you have guests in your house. So tenants stay long term, and guests stay short term. So guests can be anything 3 days to a week or month.
Yeah, and you are expert in both. So this is So the only reason I'm mentioning it, because we started with HMOs, and now you've mentioned the service accommodation as well. So just for them, you are expert in both now. So amazing. So tell us more. So you started with your venture and HMOs.
Yeah, so we started with HMOs, and as a result of that, like I mentioned, I was part of this mastermind. So I was actually mentored by a guy called Kevin McDonald. So he's very well known in, within the property industry. So he was and still is my mentor. And because of all this, and because I was quite involved in the community in general, in terms of sharing my knowledge, helping people, and so I kind of was, and still am, seen by a lot of people as a go-to person when it comes to HMOs and rent to rents, which is great place to be. So Kevin actually asked me to become one of his mentors on his mastermind program. So that was obviously a great honor.
Yeah, what a compliment as well. It's like, wow, now I'm gonna be mentoring.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It was really, really good. So yeah, I did that for about a year, and of course, we had lockdown and all that sort of malarkey. So obviously that kind of didn't help, but it really helped my learning, it helped my development, and also I was able to give back to people, which is really why what was probably the most important thing, because I got a lot from people when I started. People just gave me their time, maybe because they saw that I really wanted it, I really was trying, and maybe just things weren't happening as quickly as perhaps for other people. But yeah, so that was my reasoning behind it. But since then, you probably very well know, and maybe not all the listeners know, but Peter Juhas and myself actually joined forces about a year ago, actually, where we actually set up our own company called Cashflow Property, where we actually help people now, starting their own journey, starting their own property investing with the things that we have started with. So rent to rents, deal packaging, deal sourcing, HMOs, serviced accommodation. So all those things that we have got great experience with and lots of knowledge of, that we can help people, if they want to make a start. So we have moved into, now from just doing property into actually doing a bit of education as well.
Sure.
Which is
helping others now on their way as well, on the way up.
Yes, and that's really, really rewarding, and it's, we've created a website with Peter, so we put all of our knowledge into this website. We worked months on it, to be honest, to create the courses. So with the aim of that really was for us to actually create something that is available at a reasonable price.
Sure.
accessible because it's an online course, so you can access it from New Zealand, Australia, the US, Hong Kong, wherever you want to. It's accessible to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, or a bit more advanced person. We actually have courses for both because we try to cover the whole spectrum as much as possible. So, for example, if marketing is your thing, we've got property-specific marketing that is really quite advanced. Some of them, which some of it we're using ourselves.
Amazing.
So, yeah, we tried to cover all those, and we also started our mastermind. So again, I've stopped mentoring for Kevin and his mastermind because I didn't really want any conflict between what I'm doing and versus what I was doing for him. So
yeah,
it was a bit of a shame because I really liked it, but I don't want clashes with that. I'm all for building bridges, not burning bridges. So yeah, it's just I like to keep good relationship with people, and
and it's natural progression as well. It's like just because you're doing something now, that doesn't mean that you need to doing it forever. So it was just another chapter in your life, which again it helped you enjoyed it, and but it's just another thing for you to do and to try.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. So, and we got our own mentees, so and some of them are having great success. So we just got one of the guys who's signing his third rent-to-rent SA deal. And he hasn't even finished the program with us, so really, really amazing stuff.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, so it's just really great to see, and we probably need to talk a lot more about that, ourselves, in terms of making sure that people know that we are actually helping these people immensely. But yeah, so that's
you were an expert in HMOs and rent to rent, and then you joined forces with Peter, who is an expert in rent to rent and service accommodation. So combining you two, you must have an amazing knowledge between you two in property and deal packaging and a rent to rent in general. Both of you combining rent to rent experience as well, and then you got HMOs, and then you got service accommodation, and then you got the training. So yeah, like it just shows that you guys understand a lot.
Yes, and now we're not just doing rent-to-rent deals, but we're also doing buy refurbished refinance deals. Working with investors who put their trust in us, to find them the right properties, manage the projects for them, and then actually tenant it for them. So we got a pretty full circle service really for anyone who wants to work with us, and we've got quite a few clients who have put their trust in us. So it's really nice place to be. Don't get me wrong, it comes with a lot of work, but it's work we enjoy. So to me, it doesn't feel like work, even though the days are long and sometimes you work 7 days, but still it's fun. I enjoy it. So
exactly,
it's a good place to be. So
most importantly, you have to enjoy it. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it. That's just how it is.
Well, yeah. But Istvan, it's like if you going through if you're doing so much, so you have different businesses, now you coaching as well, you got your mentees, you're doing your courses, because just having a course that is not something you type in one day and then it's online. It's a lot of work, lots of preparation, lots of editing, lots of uploading that, and then you also have children. And how do you do it all? I mean, how do you structure your days, and what do you outsource, and when is the time to outsource, in your opinion or in your experience? Because I believe you can't do everything on your own with everything you have happening around you as well, because you're quite busy man.
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah, and you can't do it on your own. I'm not Superman.
Well, in a way, you really are.
Yes, but you can't be in 5 places at once, and you can't work 24 hours a day because that's just not possible. So you have to be smart about how you do it. And let's face it, most really successful people out there have outsourced some or most part of what they do to other people.
Saying, so how do you structure your day?
Yeah, so normally, I don't know if you heard this, but normally I start my day with a bit of exercise. So I like to go to the gym. Staying fit. I'm no bodybuilder, but I like to stay fit. So because that kind of helps me think, helps me just focus more. Absolutely. So that's normally my morning start. Not every day. It just depends on how late I finish the night before. But I try to do 3-4 times a week, which is not bad. And then I tend to have a list of priorities. I like to call it less of a to-do list, more of a priority list, because I think if I had a to-do list, that would literally be an endless list. But it's more about which are the really, really important things that I actually need to get done.
Sure.
And it may not be something that I do, but it's something that I need to get the team to focus on. So
what do you outsource in your business? If you say that,
Yeah.
but you outsource that with someone. So what is it? What did you think it's helpful to get outsourced when you are businesses?
Pretty much everything, I believe, because you can actually outsource everything. And but if I really wanted to put a list around it, so you want to be thinking about your marketing, social media, your accountancy. Most of your admin work can easily be outsourced. Your property management, easily. Whether it's an agent or someone in your in-house team, can easily outsource. Viewings, again, it's very easy to outsource to someone, to do the viewings for you. Probably one thing I would not outsource is the strategic side of things, the planning.
Right, because you need to plan yourself, your own business.
Well, it's your baby, right? It's your business. So you should, you are in the driver's seat. So
Absolutely.
you're essentially the person who's, doing the steering in your car. So if you give that to someone else, you want to go left, but they may go right. And then all of a sudden I go, well, hang on, I wanted to go left, but well, hang on, I've got a
Yeah.
steering wheel.
It's like
No.
you have, when you building your business, you're creating your own culture, you have your own vision, and someone else might not fully get what you're trying to build, not necessarily what you're trying to build, but get the full feeling of your brand, for example. So it's
Yeah.
very important that there's certain things you stay still in control of, at least for for a certain period of time. Yeah.
And that's a key word that I'm really glad that you mentioned. And it really comes down to that, is control.
Mm,
You know, you have to let go of some things when you're doing outsourcing, but you need to remain in control.
sure.
And I think that's a bit that I think a lot of people overlook, miss, or don't necessarily fully understand. Is
Mm,
just because somebody else is doing it, it doesn't mean that I've let go of the control. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's really, I can't emphasize it enough.
I love that.
I still need to be in control. I'm the one who's dictating of what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and when it needs to be done. And then I can, make sure that that actually gets done.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not doing it, I'm still the one who's, essentially controlling the activities. And I think that's really crucial because it is my business. Like you just said, it's my culture that I'm building, or our culture, depending on if you've got business partners. So you want to do it your way and you can't let that control go. So for example, if you want to get a post out on your Facebook, just keep the simple thing. You can't just let anyone to be doing it in any sort of color or any sort of style. It has to be the style you want to do. It has to be in your company's colors. It has to be in the font that you want to use because that's what corresponds with your company colors and fonts and all that. Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
and that's the control. That's what it comes down to. It's and it comes with a lot of work at the beginning because you need to set those things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
It's like,
that's the building phase, and that's what's is so crucial. It's like putting a foundations down for a house.
mm, it's
You
so
know,
important to make it sure that foundation is built strong before you
yes,
can put the house on the top. Yeah.
and
And
that's kind of where a lot of my previous experience also comes in really handy because I've had to have conversations with people who have in far more powerful position than I was about things that weren't being done in the right way or properly or whatever the case may be. So I see a lot of people when they outsource certain things and then things don't get done. And then I see this person complain on social media, go, oh, I've handed this over to someone and they did a rubbish job. It's like, well, okay, but first of all, did you tell them what you exactly wanted? Secondly, did you check on them on a regular basis? And thirdly, did you have that conversation when things weren't going the right way? And I
mhm,
can tell you almost all three of those never happen with a lot of people. They just go, can you do me something? They throw it over and just go, oh God, I don't have to do this anymore. It's
yeah.
so good.
And then they are like, oh, they didn't really quite get my brand or my,
Yes.
yeah, it's so true. I've like people, it's exactly what you're saying. People say that in order to grow, you need to learn to let go. When we're talking about the outsourcing, not the control part, because obviously you still need to, but even when
Yeah.
you're letting go, I've been listening to loads of people when they were getting VAs, virtual assistants. And
Hmm.
as that's perfect example, isn't it? That they spend some of those people, like there's an example where you just said that they just let, okay, you do whatever, and then it's like, oh, they didn't quite get me. And the people who are happy with their VAs, when you listen to their story, it's a months and months of hard work of, as you said, checking on them, making sure they understand your culture, making sure they understand your brand, and it's absolutely crucial. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, well,
Great
we've
advice.
been building a team with Peter for best part of 6 months, and we've got quite a few people working for us now, which is a great place to be. But
Yeah,
every
smashing it.
every every person you hire, you're talking 2 months minimum before they actually really get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
2 months of full-time work that you pay for before you actually really start to see the benefit. Now, I know very well when I was working for someone, it really did always take at least or maybe 3 to 4 months to really properly get it,
Yeah.
because so much to know. And our brains are not like sponges. Once you're an adult, they don't actually just soak up all the knowledge straight away, or
Hmm.
not exactly the same way. We need to understand it. We need to do it a few times to really embed that knowledge that you just gained.
Yeah.
So all of that takes time, and sometimes because you're asking people to do multiple tasks, it takes even longer. So 2 months is probably not an unrealistic time frame for someone to be up to speed with your company and what you actually want them to do.
Yeah, exactly. That is so true. And it's like, just be patient with them. When you outsource something, make sure that the people, that they really genuinely spend time with them to make sure that they understand what you're trying to build. Because the wrong person can ruin your brand, and it can be easily your fault simply by not spending enough time with them to explaining what exactly you're trying to achieve, or teaching them more about your brand, your what you're trying to build, etc. So, and your culture. It's very important. Very good tip. Love that.
It's always your fault, by the way, as a business owner. So, that's another thing that a lot of people overlook. It's always your fault, because you hired the wrong person, or you're giving them the wrong instruction, or you never checked on them, or you never really asked them to do the right thing in the first place. It's always your fault. You
Yeah.
can't put the blame on somebody else. And that's because, again, that's a too easy thing to do for people. Go, actually, what, I hired him, and they just do a rubbish job. Well, yeah, but have you really given them the right tools
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
for them to actually deliver on the job as you really expected them? Have you communicated that properly? And almost 100% of the time, the answer is no.
Yeah. That's the thing. And at least people admit it.
Look,
Oh,
it's one of
no.
those things. But, that's another reason why Peter and myself actually started our own digital agency, a digital marketing agency as well, on the top of what I mentioned before, because we have also been through this and we know how to do it. So we now want to help other people. We
Fantastic.
also need help with this sort of thing as well, because
Oh, guys, amazing. You're smashing it. You're absolutely smashing it. Oh, Istvan, this is really, like, I'm absolutely loving this. But we've been now talking for approximately an hour,
oh
and
wow.
and I know, and I could easily talk to you for another few hours, because how we do get along, and it's really nice to always talk to you. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to start going into the end slowly. So
of
um,
course.
as much as I'm loving this, because we both have things to do as well today, and other places to be. Istvan, can you please just share now, like in like a nutshell, like your top 3 tips? What would you recommend from someone who went through everything what you explained today, for someone who's starting out? Because obviously this is designed mainly for property beginners, even though I have obviously other listeners as well.
Yeah.
Um, what would you recommend? Your top 3 tips from Istvan
So just in general, top 3 tips.
in business.
So I think the number one is get your mindset right from the
Right.
start.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the most important thing. Without the right mindset, I wouldn't be where I am now. There's no question about it. Having the tenacity, the driven sort of attitude towards things. Having the can-do attitude, and having the perseverance and persistence. You need those if you want a business. It's a must, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Without that, because they're going to be rubbish days, they're going to be some even worse days, and that's when your mindset will just pull you out and go, actually, you know what, this is just a phase, and I will get through it, and there will be better days. So that would be number one.
Great tip. Yeah,
Um,
mindset.
Absolutely, and get yourselves educated. So if you're doing something new, something that you haven't done before, 100% recommend it, because choose the right people. Not everyone's going to be the right person for you. Just because that person was right for somebody else, it doesn't mean they're right for you. I've met many people who, people I really admire and really look up to. They said, well, that person doesn't do it for me, and that's just a personal choice. So I won't be offended if you don't choose us, Peter and myself. Go choose somebody else, but do get educated. That's
Yeah.
really, really important. And secondly, just put the work in and actually just take some action.
Nice.
Because
great tips.
again, mindset and your knowledge, all of them are worth absolutely nothing. I've met so many people who are brilliant people, so clever, but they didn't take action. And not taking action is probably the biggest thing that you can do against all your goals, because let's face it, sitting at home and talking about it with your friends is always very easy to do. But when you actually have to go out and do the viewings and have to put in some, offers that perhaps are uncomfortable, or having those uncomfortable conversations with certain people, that's really when, you make or break it, I think. So those probably would be my three things.
I love that. Great tips. Absolutely amazing tips. Thank you very, very much, Istvan. Really appreciate that. That's amazing. And I also have two more questions I always ask every single guest. And two more, exactly. One is, when you talk about education, when it comes to books, do you read or do you listen to books? And if so, what book or books would you recommend to read or listen to?
So when I used to work, I used to listen to audiobooks because that was perfect for my commuting time. And that's all about using your time wisely. It's really crucial, because once you have a job and you got kids and a family, all of a sudden your available time to do something new, which in this case property, is very limited. So it was the same in my case. And I found myself, driving to work going, why am I flicking through all these stupid radio stations? It's all the same ads, the same
bad news and all that negativity.
Oh, yes, absolutely. All of those. So I was like, you know what? This actually is half an hour to 45 minutes each way that I could be utilizing to actually educating myself, or just motivating myself, or something to that effect. So I used audiobooks, and that was really the best way for me, and it really massively worked. I definitely recommend it. Even if you're on the train, you don't have to drive. Even on a train, you could do that. You stick it in your earbuds in. It very much works. So I listened to books like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which is probably one of the first books that really got me really thinking. And I really
23 episodes. It has been recommended 23 times.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's just one of those. It's almost like it's a foundation for entrepreneurship.
That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody started with this book, so it's definitely the book to read.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't yet, and like I said, I've read it a couple of times or listened to it a couple of times. It's really good. But probably one of the most sort of definitive book for me was a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which I'm sure you've also heard of. And the reason for that is Rich Dad Poor Dad is brilliant in terms of get you thinking, and it's a very good story in terms of what you can achieve. But this one is it's like a textbook of how, step by step, what you really need to work on, what do you need to watch out for, how to do this and that. So for me, that was amazing, that actually somebody put, that book took 25 years to write.
No, I did not know that.
25 years in the early 1900s.
Wow.
Napoleon Hill actually spent time with some really, really rich people who are very, very successful, like Henry Ford, I'm sure you know, and actually studied them, spent a lot of time with them, understanding how they work and what makes them tick and what is it that actually makes them successful.
Fantastic.
So I find that fascinating, and I've read it multiple times now, and some of those things still resonate on a daily basis. So those probably would be my top two. There's many others I've read and listened to. But yeah, those would be the top.
Lovely, great tips, loving it. And Istvan, one more is I always ask as well, if you go and watch something, what would you recommend the listeners to watch? And now it doesn't have to be educational, can be documentary, can be movie, whatever it is. What would you recommend someone to watch if they want to go and watch something? Netflix, Amazon, whatever that is.
So I guess in the last 12 months or so, we've all been home a lot, so there's lots to watch. I have to be honest, I didn't spend a lot of time in front of TV because I've just been too busy doing work. But that's probably for the better. But there's a few sort of shows that me and my wife sat down and watched. So one of them was Schitt's Creek. I'm not sure if you heard of that, but that was quite a funny little a series. It's a 6-series thing, but it's really, really good. It's got a bit of a slow start at first, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The other one was the Crown. Again, that's something that I really liked. Following the Queen and her life.
Yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first two seasons more because it was a bit more romantic. Back in the 50s. When they were all young. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. The later sort of series were a bit more serious, but it's still good. Very good. And the one I'm watching right now is one called The Good Place. And again, if you don't know what it is, have a look. It's funny. It's quite good. So it's just a light entertainment. Nothing's too serious. So.
This is the thing. It's like, because you're so busy all the time, and you have children, which is responsibility, and all that on top of it. It's really, and employees now. You have people it's a lot. So it's nice when you can have something to come to relax to. Like you said, it's funny. It just takes the seriousness and business and all that away, and responsibility away from you, and just makes you giggle a little bit, which is really good.
Absolutely, yeah. I just sit down in the evening for half an hour. Some of these episodes are quite short. Like The Good Place, I think is something like 22 minutes or something. Like you can easily watch one of those just to wind you down at the end of the long day. So
yeah.
So those would be my sort of most recent recommendations. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you so much, and I'll definitely have a look as well. I love that on my on this podcast that people give me recommendation, because I don't watch it often either, but when I do, I have recommendations.
Yes.
And Istvan, can you also tell us where people can find you if they want to follow you or if they want to get in touch?
Pretty much everywhere, to be honest. So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So
everywhere.
Yeah, search me up. Yeah, basically, I'm everywhere really. So
under your name, which is Istvan Vagh. Just as that. Yeah. So just for those, because it's for those who's listening, it's your surname is Vagh. If you want to find Istvan, but I'll obviously put your name on everywhere, description and name of the episode, etc. So
thank you.
Yeah. Istvan, again, I wish we didn't have to call it off, but I have another show which I was invited to at 12 o'clock, and I need to get ready a little bit, so I'm really going to have to go now. But I really, really, really enjoyed having you today. Honestly, that was fantastic. As I said, that your story is really fascinating and inspiring for either beginners or those already in the game for a while. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
There's loads to learn from you, and I will definitely continue being your fan. And I'm really glad to call myself your friend now. So thank you again for accepting the invitation, and I'll let you know when this episode is going to go live, and I can't wait for people to hear your story.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thanks for the invite, Lanka. I really enjoyed it. An hour or so just flown by, to be honest.
It does.
So yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for the invitation. Glad to be here.
You enjoyed it, and we've been doing a show before where you invited me to yours, and we can just talk and talk, isn't it? Like when you click with someone, it's really nice. So we really need to meet up for real coffee as well now when the restrictions are easing up. That'll be lovely.
We should, yes. But no, very, very much enjoyed this, Lanka. So yeah, it was very good. So hopefully the listeners got something out of it as well. Hopefully a bit of inspiration for people who are just starting out and or just wanting to know a bit more about me. So, but thank you again.
Yeah, no, definitely full of golden nuggets as well, and full of inspiration. So again, thank you so much for coming, and have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks very much, Lanka.
Good luck with everything you do in the future.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thanks, Istvan. Bye, you legend.
Bye.
You're gonna do a good job.